All right, let's get into it. Today, we're going to trace the incredible thousand-year journey of a really mysterious and powerful text. We're talking about a single page of writing that has obsessed alchemists, scientists, and artists for centuries. You've probably heard some version of this phrase, right? As above, so below. It's a line that has just echoed through the centuries, in secret societies, in the beginnings of science, and yeah, even in pop culture today. But where did it actually come from? Well, that's exactly what we're here to explore. We're diving deep into the secret history of the Emerald Tablet, or, if you want to use its Latin name, the Tabula Smaragdina. And let me tell you, it is a wild story of discovery, translation, and constant reinvention. Okay, so first things first, let's try and demystify the Emerald Tablet itself. Because despite its fame, what it actually is gets misunderstood a lot. So it's really important we define it from the get-go. The tablet is one of the foundational texts of something called Hermeticism, which is this whole spiritual and philosophical tradition rooted in esoteric wisdom. It's supposedly written by this legendary figure, Hermes Trismegistus, who is this amazing mashup of the Greek god Hermes and the Egyptian god Thoth. And it's not some long, dusty book. It's short, it's dense, and it's basically a collection of statements about the very nature of the cosmos and creation. Now, you'd think a text attributed to an Egyptian and a Greek god would come from, ancient Egypt or Greece. But here's the first twist. The story doesn't start there at all. Its earliest known appearance is actually in the medieval Arabic-speaking world. For centuries, scholars in the West only knew about the later Latin versions. But this timeline here shows a much, much older history. It wasn't until the 20th century that modern scholars actually rediscovered these older Arabic versions, and it completely rewrote the tablet's origin story. It blew the lid off, revealing its true Islamicate roots. And this dramatic discovery myth, it was absolutely crucial to its mystique. I mean, just picture it. A sage finds this ancient wisdom literally in the hands of Hermes Trismegistus in his tomb. That kind of story gave the text an almost divine authority right from the start. And when you look at that oldest known Arabic text, it's so poetic and ambiguous. It really reads less like a scientific recipe and more like a series of cosmic instructions, all about the relationship between heaven and earth, fire and stone. So now let's follow the journey. Let's see how this text travels to Europe and basically becomes the cornerstone of Western alchemy, because this is where its meaning starts to shift dramatically. So, around the 12th century, the tablet gets translated into Latin for the first time. And one of these translations, which came to be known as the Vulgate version, pretty much became the standard text for European alchemists for hundreds of years. Now this is what I find so fascinating. Look at how translation just completely transformed the tablet's message. The poetic Arabic line about the soft being more noble than the crude becomes a much more direct, almost procedural instruction in Latin. Separate the element of earth from that of fire. It's a subtle change in words, but a massive shift in meaning, from cosmic philosophy to hands-on lab work. Exactly. So, for these European alchemists, the tablet wasn't poetry anymore. It was a coded set of laboratory instructions. They were convinced that if they could just crack the code, if they could just decipher its verses, they would unlock the secret to the great work, creating the Philosopher's Stone, a substance that could turn metals into gold and grant perfection. And during the Renaissance, this whole interpretation got even more elaborate. Artists created these incredibly complex visual emblems to represent the tablet's principles. This one, for example, is a great illustration of the Paracelsian ideas, named after the physician Paracelsus, of the three core principles: spirit, soul, and body. And they're represented here by the eagle, the lion, and the star. It's like a visual cheat sheet to the universe. Of course, the invention of the printing press was a total game changer. The first printed edition in Nuremberg back in 1541, along with some really influential commentaries, spread the tablet's fame far and wide. It completely solidified its importance in European thought. But as Europe moved into the Age of Reason and the scientific revolution started taking hold, the tablet's mystical authority came under some very serious attack. You had these prominent scholars like Athanasius Kircher who started applying new critical methods. They scrutinized the language, the history. They pointed out that it wasn't mentioned in any classical Greek sources, and they basically concluded that it couldn't possibly be as ancient as the legend claimed. And the final nail in the coffin, really, came with the birth of modern chemistry. The rigorous empirical framework pioneered by figures like Antoine Lavoisier, well, it just left no room for the spiritual allegorical worldview of alchemy. The tablet's power as an alchemical recipe began to fade. But the idea didn't die. No way. Instead, it was reborn. In the modern world, the Emerald Tablet transformed from a chemical recipe into a spiritual and cultural touchstone, and it found new life in some really unexpected places. And this is its most enduring legacy. This famous paraphrase, as above, so below, was popularized by figures like Helena Blavatsky and movements like Theosophy. It became a central maxim for modern esotericism and New Age thought, a really powerful symbol for the interconnectedness of everything. So here's the crucial point. The interpretation shifted inward. The psychologist Carl Jung saw the tablet as a map of the human psyche. The alchemical great work, turning lead into gold, was for him a powerful metaphor for our own internal journey of psychological integration and self-realization, becoming whole. And this just shows how incredibly resilient the tablet's core ideas are. I mean, from the philosophy of Theosophy and the art of the Surrealists, all the way to the Brazilian funk of Jorge Ben, and even the time-bending plot of the Netflix series Dark, its influence is truly everywhere. The journey of the Emerald Tablet really shows us that an idea is never static. Whether people see it as a cosmic blueprint, an alchemical recipe, a psychological map, or a cultural myth, it remains a mirror, right? It reflects the big questions of every era that discovers it. So the question now is, what does it reflect for us today?